So first, can you introduce yourself to the voters watching at home?
Yes, I'm Shawn Ryan. I live in Glen Ellen. I'm a District 4 candidate for County Board.
All right, perfect. How have you been involved in your community thus far, and how have these experiences prepared you for serving on the county board?
Okay, that's an excellent question. First off and foremost, I am a retired teacher and a semi-retired coach. But before I did those things, I was a social services rep, which you may or may not know what that entails. I worked with low-income families, and I did resource referrals. That could be food, shelter, education, preschool, domestic violence. And primarily I was involved in a lot of home visits. So if I take those years all by themselves without any other community involvement, which I've had since I've been in Glen Ellen and before that Lombard with churches and other activities like recycling programs and code drives and things like that, if I take the original work that I did all on its own, I think I have more experience that's relatable to the county board than anybody else. Anybody else. Because of those things I mentioned, working with families, the most vulnerable families, and doing those resource recommendations, it's ridiculously deep as far as experience is concerned.
All right, and with that being said, what would you say that your most valuable lesson you have learned from those experiences has been?
Well, that's again a thoughtful question. The value to those experiences is, and I think it's important to reiterate with younger people, like I would with my daughter, our experience, we just consider it to be normal. This is how life is. No matter what your teachers say or your grandparents say or whatever, oh, you're lucky, you should consider. We really should consider ourselves in DuPage County lucky. And that's part of why I am involved in this process, is because I want to make sure that those things are still available to my daughter, who is your generation, and if she chooses to have kids, her kids, the following generations.
Perfect.
That's what I've learned.
All right. What is one challenge the county faces, and how do you plan to address it?
For me, that's an easy question, but I know if you start doing some research, it's pretty deep also. There are a lot of different things that you could look into as far as that topic is concerned. And statistically, there are a few things that this county, although it is a wonderful place to live and it's full of resources and opportunities, there are some issues statistically with low-income housing availability and some things along those lines. Again, the groups that are most vulnerable do struggle in this area with some resources. But I think an even bigger problem is the perception that is being presented of crime in our county. Statistically, according to the FBI's statistics, we are still a very, very highly rated and safe set of communities. What I would do about that misperception or misconception is push the marketing of DuPage County. You know, our communities can only develop economically if they bring in more businesses, if people want to live here and want to create businesses here, or the people that are already here want to stay. And as you may or may not know, we do have taxes here, and taxes are tough.
Yeah.
So if you have to choose, well, I want to save some money and move someplace else, or stay here and pay those taxes, what are the benefits? I would like to market DuPage County at a higher level and get the positive information about us out, because I think it's accurate and it would bring new businesses in, and that's economic development, and with economic development comes resource, and those resources could then be used for those other elements that I mentioned.
Yeah. All right, perfect. What are your long-term goals for serving on the county board, and how will you accomplish them?
That question I found to be interesting in that I'm interested in short-term goals as opposed to long-term. I think long-term goals for the board as a whole is to continue moving in a progressive manner towards providing resources to everyone, not just a select group of people or corporations or businesses. That's a long-term goal, is to make sure everybody feels comfortable as part of the process. And that's voting rights, that's voting accessibility, that's economic opportunity, and all those things put together. It shouldn't just be one group of people that feels as if they're involved. It should be everybody. That's a long-term goal. I won't be there long-term. My perspective is simple. I want to be part of this process on a short term, just like the founding fathers thought, which was, like, for example, George Washington. He didn't want a lifetime job. That's not what I'm looking for either. I just want to be involved and lend a fresh perspective and help move the ball down the field in the direction it's going. That's my goal.
Perfect. And then our last question is just, is there anything else you would like to cover that you didn't get a chance to say already?
Well, I could speak about myself at length because, it's a characteristic I have. I would prefer to just be short, though. My work in social services, my work in education, my work with volunteerism, coaching, it's been primarily in this area. And I feel like I've been very blessed. I've been blessed. This is a great place to be. The number one thing I'd like people to know about me when they go to the voting booth is that I'm a sincere person. I'm honestly interested in helping the most vulnerable and maintaining this county in a very positive light. I'm not interested in fighting with the other side, but I do believe that people on the other side of the aisle have some dramatically different perspectives than I do on women's reproductive rights, immigration, opportunities for vulnerable groups. And I just, through my travels and my experiences, even though I have benefited from a lot of things like that, just being in the right place at the right time, I think that other people who haven't had those opportunities deserve them. And that's why I'm involved.
All right, perfect. That sums up our questions, and thank you so much.
Sure.